Whenever a planet changes directions, it is kind of how it sounds, right? A planet going direct invites us to move forward. A planet going retrograde invites us to go within. It invites us to examine the past, to understand patterns, and to take responsibility for our own part, especially where it comes to how we're using that archetypal energy of that planet. And it is personal planets that are experienced more acutely when they change directions than they might otherwise be. But when you have a week where you start the week with a personal planet, Mercury, going direct, and you end the week with Venus going direct, well, this is energy that says a lot of us are going to be thinking one way as we enter this week, and a whole other way as we end the week. We'll be feeling one way about what we are wanting, about what we are worth as we start the week, and we end the week with a realization that is a game changer for us. When planets that are this important shift directions, it is ultimately something personal within that is able to understand and is able to now understand what it is that you want to do next, whether that's who you have to talk with or whom it is that you're going to allow yourself to connect with in a meaningful way. A lot of this is about people, but it's bigger than that. With these energies going direct in the sign of Pisces, it isn't just about our connection with others. It is about our own peace and our connection with our understanding of our higher selves. It's about our relationship with the divine. Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of April 6, 2025. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. Consultations with me and Andy of Wise Ass Astrology are now available over on my website, nadiyashah.com. Links are below. Mercury going direct in many ways is the star of the show now, at least as we start this week. And it is on Monday that the official direct does take place. But as we start this week, Mercury has slowed down, is standing still in the sky, and is gearing up to give us each our own awareness, our own epiphany. Now, Mercury has to do with our thought processes and what it is we are understanding. And that's why it is that when Mercury is retrograde, it's not necessarily the best time to be making really big decisions, because we might not realize how our thought processes or the whole understanding of what's actually being required, of what our starting point is, well, it might just be off. And it might be colored by deeper personal drives. That's the thing with a retrograde. It does encourage us to get in touch with what we really feel and what we really understand with Mercury, and in particular, what we understand about ourselves. And so with Mercury going direct, there is set to be a light bulb moment for a lot of us out there where it feels like finally, and in some cases instantly, things feel a whole lot more clear. But here's the thing, under the light of Mercury going direct, we are going to have a triple conjunction of Venus, Saturn, and the North Node taking place. I think that this is an incredible symbolism at play. For 3 planets and the North Node close together in the sky, 2 of those planets with some precision so close to that North Node and to each other, well, yes, the energy might feel consequential. It might feel heavy. It might feel like we have to acknowledge some difficult reality that maybe we would rather not look at. But the fact that we have all this energy happening around the North Node, this destiny point that speaks to aligning with a higher, more loving vision for our life, for feeling a sense of acceleration towards the fulfillment of karmic contracts and karmic promises that we make to ourselves and to others, the awareness of it, the understanding that sometimes is so personal or intuitive or shows up in a dream, but we know it is the case, that we've turned a corner in important ways. And sometimes those promises being with ourselves are about versions of ourselves that we're now ready to move forward from so that we can become something more than we were before. With Saturn in the mix, it is a hard truth for some of us out there. It is a reality check moment that might even feel burdensome for some, but it is necessary. It is necessary because ultimately it is the North Node that opens up a pathway towards greater love and greater wisdom. And it is the North Node, one activated, that allows blessings to come in that pull us forward. They pull us towards better. They welcome in new people, places, things, and situations, which represent blessings. And sometimes as part of the mystery, it might not feel that way in the instant. The interesting thing with Saturn, because Saturn can speak to finality, I was thinking about this idea of how, a lot of people say rejection is protection. Rejection is protection. Well, in order to feel that, it requires you to start from a place of trust. Now, whether that trust is in a higher power, the divine, that trust is in the universe. It is from a place of trust that these aren't just words, but they're a way to move through life. They're a way to know a deeper peace, a deeper understanding, but also to make the best use of this lifetime, that much more. Rejection is protection. And for some of us, we might find ourselves feeling like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't see this all along. But now here it is. And this feels like rejection. And yet, is it really? Or is it more about the ways in which the universe is setting the stage to protect you, to guide you, and really to lift you? And that's the work that's being asked for now. That is part of the inspiration now, of course, because of Mercury going direct. But remember, yeah, Venus is doing big things, standing still in the sky, close to Saturn, next to and on the North Node, but also hanging tight, a harmonious connection with Uranus simultaneously. And this is going to be energy operational throughout the week. Because as we navigate this week, Venus is slowing down to stand still, to go direct before the week is out. And that is its own kind of realization. Where Mercury is mind and understanding, Venus can speak to feeling. It's not the kind of feeling that the moon represents. It's not necessarily emotion. It is the feeling behind what we value, what we think some given people, person, thing, situation, what is it really worth to us? And where is it now that having received the clarity, it's a game changer of sorts? And this turning point moment, I gotta say, for some, it's going to orient also around money, what we're spending money on, again, what we think is valuable within ourselves, but also in our external environment as well. I've shared stories about Venus retrograde and how I have been one of those people who has made certain choices and decisions that I looked back on after Venus went direct and I thought, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? What was really going on there? And that's the thing with Venus especially, and when you're making choices related to what you like in different ways. Now that can be what you like in terms of your style choices, in terms of what's pleasurable to you, in terms of activities that you really enjoy. What you like when Venus is retrograde can be very different than what it is you like once Venus goes direct. And so my personal story that's very emblematic of this, but I've got lots of little stories there. But there was this one Venus retrograde season. Now this was going back quite a few years. And at that time, I was always wearing black. Like that year, I wanted to wear all black. I was in my witchy phase, I guess you could call it. Venus went retro and I got this desire to wear yellow. And I got myself a lot of yellow. I think I told you guys this story just a couple of weeks ago. I looked like a baby chick, but a really big baby chick walking around downtown Toronto. But that's what felt right for me. And I remember clear as day, Venus goes direct and I am looking at these yellow clothes and I'm like, what was I thinking? Thank goodness I didn't throw out all of my wardrobe. Now, I will also say, I have way back in the day actually given away, given to charity, clothing during a Venus retrograde. Well, what do you think I felt once Venus went direct? I felt regret. That's what I felt. And so that's part of what might be playing out for some people now, especially considering we're looking at the energy of Pisces. That is where Venus is going direct. And it cannot be overstated. It isn't just that Venus is going direct. That in and of itself would be huge. But it's going direct with Saturn and the North Node together in the sky, Mercury not far away as well, and it is going direct while hanging tight a harmonious conversation to Uranus. Those realizations, that sense of a reevaluation of the last 6 weeks and what we've been doing, it is going to feel like it comes out of nowhere, but it can bring with it the promise of refreshment. That's the promise of Uranus. And it's one that ultimately has great consequence. Saturn invites us to get honest with ourselves, but so does Uranus. But Uranus does it in a way that also liberates us to be more ourselves. And especially where it is that we've allowed certain people, places, things, situations that feel, or maybe they felt at the moment pretty good, but now as the direct takes place, we realize that, you know what, us going in that direction, maybe we've already been walking down that path. Well, that isn't really being you, and it isn't being true to you. And wherever that is, it is going to come to the surface. I would be remiss if I didn't say this is also about love. Venus is about our concept of love and what we do to ourselves that we think is going to help us to attract good things, including romance, into our lives. And that becomes part of how we might express ourselves and bring forward our own unique beauty. But it is Venus going direct. And I don't know if I said this already. Actually, this is about the 5th time I'm going to say this. Conjunct Saturn and the North Node, hanging tight, a sextile with Uranus, Mercury not far away, with all that taking place. What it is that we thought we wanted, what it is we think love is, all of that is going to feel like it turns on its head. All of that may feel like we see it very differently and in an instant. And so what do you do when you're faced with some truth? Even if it's hard, it doesn't have to stay that way. It doesn't have to stay difficult to accept a truth. But yeah, for some of us, it might feel really consequential. You're looking at the truth of your desires, of your attractions, and of your relationships, past or a current circumstance, most likely. And as you're looking at it, you are understanding something much more profound, much more deep within yourself and about yourself as to what has brought you here to this moment with this person. Venus retrograde always asks us, do I love this person, place, thing, or situation? Is there love here or not? But we don't get our answer until Venus goes direct. And this particular Venus direct, for all the reasons, all the planetary reasons I've been telling you about again and again in this video, for all those reasons, it is going to be that much more of an awakening as we realize where love is, but also, because Saturn's there, where love is not. But we need to be able to see where love is not, so that that pathway opens up of the promise of the North Node. As much as Mercury going direct brings that light bulb moment, consider that as we enter this week on Sunday, right out of the gate, we have one of the more optimistic and fortunate celestial connections to take place. This is when the Sun speaks in harmony with Jupiter. But what we're also having is Venus speaking in supreme harmony with Mars. There's a lot of lusty energy here, a lot of attraction energy and electric energy. For some, it's going to be very intriguing. For others, it's going to be an awakening. That awakening might be physical and physical attraction, but it might be more personal than that, a realization of some truth about what you are desiring that feels like it comes to the surface. And it becomes part of ultimately what helps us to move in that direction of being more honest with ourselves. Because in being more honest with ourselves, we ultimately align with a pathway that feels so much more, so much richer, and just real. There's a lot of fantasy energy, and there can be, especially with this Venus retrograde season. Remember, another key characteristic has been ongoing connections between Venus and Neptune. That was late last month, which was, as we start this week, just about a week ago, and a little over a week ago is when we had the second exact meeting of Venus and Neptune. That is energy that is hopeful and dreamy, but the energies this week where it comes to love, yes, they are lustful, they're desiring, but they are also liberating in how it is that the truth sets us free. But as Gloria Steinem says, at first, it might tick you off. Yeah, some of us might get ticked off with energy like this. And yet it is part of ultimately what aligns us with all forms of love, all forms of greater love than we've known before. And remember, a lot of this isn't just about the planetary energy, but it's about the fact that it's taking place in the sign of Pisces. It's in the sign of Pisces that we have fully two planets going direct, Mercury and Venus. And it was just last week that Neptune left the sign of Pisces. Neptune brings with it illusion, confusion, as I spoke of then, but also hope, which can be a beautiful thing. But it is now, with all this energy that says clarity is coming, well, Neptune, having left this part of the sky, is part of that clarity too. And it is the energy of Pisces that has to do with how we understand what it is to be plugged into source, to be open to divine inspiration, and to define that connection for ourselves. The energy of Pisces, and this particular energy as well, is also inviting us to get in touch with a feeling, not necessarily the details. We might not know what it looks like, but there is a feeling that a lot of us are going to be having that we have more to do in this lifetime. And what I'll say is, if you're here, it means you have more to do in this lifetime. I would say a lot more to do in this lifetime. And there's a lot to get really excited about. Because while the energies can feel heavy and consequential, they also can lighten up. These are energies ultimately of joy, but it's joy that's real. It's rooted in not what we're telling ourselves, but it's rooted in an understanding of how whatever we are thinking love is, whatever we are thinking around external person, places, things, situations, it's not about that at all. It is about faith. And how much of that energy we're going to bring to this moment. Because for some, it's going to be easier than it will be for others. And for some, it might feel like a roller coaster. And for some, that connection to Saturn can feel like it just weighs us down in a way that's deeply frustrating. But if we find ourselves in that place, well, that's when just a slight change of perspective, or even just the willingness to change perspective, that can be part of what opens up so many more options to us. Now, I also want to say, for some of us, I think quite a few of us, Pisces energy can be so romantic, like super over the top romantic. And then you add the fact that we are at the very beginning of the week with Venus trine Mars. That is a super sexy vibration. And so a lot of us with all this water trine energy might find ourselves in a moment of, whether it's romance or flirtation or desire or lust, we might find that energy really high, and we're believing that that energy can be fulfilled, and it can, and it may likely be romantic, but it might be desiring in other ways. And just setting that up might be part of a roller coaster that shows us that ultimately desire is one thing, and that can be fun, and that can be a high as well. But it's another thing to look at if there is steadiness, longevity, respect, respect for self, respect for another, and respect from another. Now, if you are one of those people who might have been using this Venus retrograde to sort of go over old ground, maybe with someone, but maybe within yourself, where you had a resentment in the past. How could they treat me that way? Who did they think that they were? How dare they? That is all that Venus retrograde and Aries energy. But now as Venus goes direct, I think a lot of us just might feel ready to let that resentment go. And it's not about the other person at all. It's just that holding on to that resentment gets in the way of the love that might be trying to come towards you, that might be trying to find you. And having that realization that ultimately a resentment around desire, around love, has been getting in the way of your peace. Well, that ultimately has nothing to do with anybody else. That has to do with your faith in the energy of love itself, and knowing that absolutely, if you're here, not only does it mean you have more to do in this lifetime, but it also means that there's a lot more love available to you as well. You know, I am in Mexico City right now for another week and a half or so. I love it here. I love it here. But I love to travel. I think a lot of you know that if you've watched me for, more than 10 minutes maybe. But it is in travel. One of the things I really come to understand is that the world is so filled with love, like very literally filled with love. And everybody, even those experiences and those people that feel as if that was uncomfortable or unnecessary, even those experiences can be part of what ultimately reminds us of the love that there is in others and within ourselves as well. Now, that doesn't mean just like you have relationships with people, some relationships are easier than others. I think we have relationships with places, and some places are experienced more easily than others might be. And yet, if we reflect, if we're honest with ourselves, we'll find that there were these windows of love that were there all along, or at least the universe working overtime to try to remind us that there is love available to us. Sometimes that love comes and arises from within. Sometimes it's found in other people, places, things, situations, but the universe is abundant in love. And being willing to feel that, being willing to believe that, that is a leap of faith. It requires faith, but it is a faith that is rewarded. Now, if all of this wasn't enough, we also have a full moon this week. Yes, because it is Venus that goes direct just minutes, literal minutes after we have a full moon in Libra. Now, it is Venus that is the ruling planet of the sign of Libra. The other sign that Venus rules is Taurus. And so in this case, it is Libra. And there's this affinity there between the two. With a full moon, emotion comes to the surface. It is the energy of Libra, which means emotion around a key alliance or a key partnership in your life. But for all that, having this full moon, on the one hand, it is square Mars. And so that to me affirms a sense of needing to understand what you're desiring, what you feel propelled towards, what you're attracted to in at least one area of life, what's really going on there, but also what's worth fighting and how you're going to go about it, and what's worth fighting for, and maybe just what isn't. The full moon is going to make things a whole lot more clear, especially clear what you want to do. But here's the thing. We have Jupiter speaking in supreme harmony with this full moon as well. That is incredibly significant because that speaks to opportunity, hope, optimism, and happiness as well. Yes, squares of Mars can be highly frustrating, but it is that trine of Jupiter that makes the effort that you make as a result of being frustrated and desiring things to be different. The action you take, well, it can be rewarded in wonderful ways that feel really like a bounty of one kind or another. It is the actions you take to move out of frustration that unleash happiness for you now. This full moon is energy I spoke of at length for each of the signs in the monthly horoscope here on my YouTube channel. You might want to navigate to that or review that again to see how it is this full moon just might speak to you now. What I love about this week for us, there's so much here. It's a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. Well, I do love that as we start this week, Mercury is stationary. Mercury goes direct on Monday, right out of the gate, maybe late Sunday in some places in the Americas, but really we are going to feel this sense of clarity on a mind level very quickly in a way that's very welcome, and that's amazing. But Mercury stations direct about 3 and sometimes 4 times a year. Venus going direct is more rare. That happens about once every year and a half. Venus going retrograde is a lot more rare than Mercury going retrograde. But when Venus goes retrograde, that is always a clarity on a level of heart. And the fact that both are happening simultaneously is huge. But the fact that both are happening in the same calendar week and both are happening with Saturn and the North Node right there, sextile Uranus, that Venus is. The fact that this is part of a larger, important configuration that is also a reminder of the karmic promises we've made to ourselves and to others, which has to do with the intention of this lifetime. And we have these rare moments sometimes where we get a glimpse. That's it, right? If you're lucky, you get a glimpse. Now that idea actually comes from Ibn Arabi. This is somebody who years ago, I wrote my master's dissertation on his work, and that was a really hard thing. And I remember saying to his spirit, Ibn Arabi, if you help me get this master's degree, I will talk about you. And I realized the other day that I haven't talked about him in a little while. So let me do that now, because it was Ibn Arabi who was an astrologer, a philosopher, a mystic. And it was Ibn Arabi who lived about 1,000 years ago. And he said that ultimately, whatever a higher will is, it is always going to come to be. But we as astrologers, practicing a mystical art, we do it so that we might know ourselves as closer to the divine than we might sometimes forget we actually are. But really, the whole point is, in this practice, in honing it, in delving into it and understanding the energies of the universe, the hope is, the belief is that if you do the preparation, then there will be times when you get a glimpse. You get a glimpse into truth, into what's really going on in the universe, in yourself, or the people you might serve with your practice as an astrologer. But oftentimes a glimpse really is enough. A glimpse is all it takes to put you on the path that you're supposed to be. And when we have energies like we have this week, I think more than a few of us are going to feel like we got that glimpse. A lot depends on what you've already put into place, of course, and how ready you are on a level of soul to receive the glimpse. But what I can say for sure is, if it is a glimpse that tells you how it is you can better go on a path or stay on a path towards greater love, greater wisdom, greater vitality, and a greater sense of gratitude for this incredible lifetime that we get to have, this incredible incarnation that you get to have right now, well, that's when you know you're on the right track. Well, thank you so much for watching. What do you love about this week? Let me know in the comments below. I love reading you guys, and to prove it to you, here are some of my most recent favorite comments. Thank you to everybody who likes, who comments, who subscribes, who shares, who thumbs up. All of it means so much. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you. And of course, if you want to know how all this wonderful stuff speaks to you in your sign, well, log on to Nadiya Shah Superstars or thefutureismagical.com. where you get expanded exclusive video scopes each week for each sign for as low as just $3 a month, which choose your membership rate. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space at Nadiya Shah, superstars.com. Links are in the description below. Consultations are now available to book with me over on my website, nadiyashah.com. And you can also book a consultation with my dear friend Andy of Wise Ass Astrology on the same page as well. And so this is very exciting. I have loved doing consultations. Thank you so much to those of you for your trust. I know I had kind of stepped out of doing live consultations for people I never met before. I had a small group of clients, but yeah, I've been back to meeting some of you out there, and it has been life-changing and deeply meaningful to me. And I just thank you so, so very much for your trust and for reaching out. And so for me, and if you desire to book a reading with me, the process is very straightforward and very streamlined now as well. Currently, I am booked into the middle of May. And so if you go on to my website, you'll be able to click on whether you want 30 minutes or 60 minutes. And from there, you get to see my calendar of availability. You get to choose the exact time that you want your consultation to take place. You then fill out a form, you make your payment, and then you are automatically sent a Zoom link. So you know exactly when it is that you're going to be meeting me online to look at your chart or to use that time however it is that you desire to use it, as I am there in service of whatever it is that you feel you need in that moment. And so, yeah, it's a very straightforward thing. With Andy, the process is a little bit different because with Andy, he does have choose your consultation rate. And so what I love about this is regardless of your price point, you are able to access a reading either with him or with me. And you go onto a calendar, you choose when it is that you would want a reading to take place. And then we, meaning my team, someone gets in touch with Andy, confirms with Andy, gets in touch with you, confirms with you. And if it's all good, then you make your payment to secure your spot. That's how it works. Andy as well is booking into May at this point also. And so, yes, check that out. Check out that page. And again, just thank you so much for the love, for the trust, and for the sacred space that I see people bring, the vulnerability that I see people bring. And I know that it is a privilege to have your trust on that level. And for that, I am truly incredibly grateful. Thank you. And thank you. Thank you so much for this moment with you. Thank you for your trust. I'm grateful for it, I'll tell you. And also keep an eye out this week for sure. We got things launching. So make sure you are on my newsletter over again on my website or at synchronicityuniversity.com. We've got some incredible new classes that are going to be launching. I think a lot of people out there are going to love this very, very much. And yes, I think that I love where I am right now. I'm loving Mexico City. And thank you to all of you who've reached out, the people I've reconnected with here in Mexico City as well. I've been meaning to post some pictures, but I was able to get people come from a little bit far away in some cases. Team members of mine were able to gather here. Some of my teachers at Synchronicity University that you know gathered here as well in this space. And we just celebrated our connection to each other. And that meant so much to me in one of my most favorite cities in the world at that. So just thank you to all the love out there. And wherever you are in the world, I am just so grateful that you're here right now and to be some part of your sacred journey. So stay tuned now for the short horoscopes coming up right now. It'll be a great week. Enjoy. Whenever a planet changes directions, it is kind of how it sounds, right? A planet going direct invites us to move forward. A planet going retrograde invites us to go within. It invites us to examine the past, to understand patterns, and to take responsibility for our own part, especially when it comes to how we're using that archetypal energy of that planet. And it is personal planets that are experienced more acutely when they change directions than they might otherwise be. But when you have a week where you start the week with a personal planet, Mercury, going direct, and you end the week with Venus going direct, well, this is energy that says a lot of us are going to be thinking one way as we enter this week, and a whole other way as we end the week. We'll be feeling one way about what we are wanting, about what we are worth as we start the week, and we end the week with a realization that is a game changer for us. When planets that are this important shift directions, it is ultimately something personal within that is able to understand and is able to now understand what it is that you want to do next, whether that's who you have to talk with or whom it is that you're going to allow yourself to connect with in a meaningful way. A lot of this is about people, but it's bigger than that. With these energies going direct in the sign of Pisces, it isn't just about our connection with others. It is about our own peace and our connection with our understanding of our higher selves. It's about our relationship with the divine. How Mercury and Venus both going direct in the same week will speak to you in your sign. Well, it does depend on your sun, moon, and rising. You want to take all three into consideration and then synthesize the information to make it unique to you. And if you want even more astrological insights, head over to my YouTube channel, Nadiya Shah, and also check out the superstar space at thefutureismagical.com. Aries, both Venus and Mercury are going direct in the sign just before yours, which is a part of the sky that has to do with what you're not aware of. Well, these planets going direct, it's like what you didn't know. All of a sudden, in some cases, it might feel like you become aware of, and it's a game changer. Now, I'll also add that we've got powerful karmic energies playing out here. But the thing with this part of the sky is the best stuff just kind of shows up. And so with Mercury going direct at the start of the week, that's when you get news, information, have a conversation that in an instant has you seeing something very differently, having a whole other realization that likely is going to be notable. As we end the week with Venus going direct, this is about understanding something very deeply within about what's happening on levels of soul, psyche, and spirit, and maybe even what's happening on levels of what your heart is really wanting. And once that realization comes, you're already on the pathway towards aligning with it. Taurus, Mercury and Venus both are going direct in a friendship part of your sky, which means you just might see a key friendship differently in some way. Now, we start the week with Mercury going direct, and that's about finally hearing what someone's telling you, finally accepting. It's a mind level awareness that feels like a game changer. For some, it's going to endear you to somebody that much more, but for others, it's going to make you realize that maybe this friendship is one that you're ready to move forward from. For all that, though, we end the week with Venus going direct. This is where love and friendship are intimately tied, whether it is an opinion that someone else has about where you are in love and why, or whether it is that it feels like something could be happening with someone who you consider a friend. You're about to see those dynamics very differently, and in some cases in an instant. It is honest. And where it is that it is also respectful, it'll help the friendship feel that much closer. Gemini, Mercury and Venus both are going direct at the top of your sky, having to do with career and life purpose. So for some, this is going to have practical implications where it comes to advancement or interview or audition situations. But for others, this is likely to be a deeply personal awakening of one kind or another. With Mercury, it has to do with finally hearing what it is that a boss is telling you, or finally understanding what a particular opportunity actually entails. entails. And what it is that you feel your purpose might be, well, you just might realize you've been going at it a certain way and that really isn't the way you want to do it. Your answers are going to be uniquely your own, but the great thing is that whether it's a new opportunity or something new that feels like it is calling you on that level of purpose, well, you're able to hear the message that much more quickly. As we get to the end of the weekend, Venus goes direct in this same part of the sky. Remember, with Venus, it's always about love. Do I love it? Do I love this path? Do I bring heart to my purpose? Do I love this career or not? Now, sometimes you kind of have to sweep the answer under the rug, right? Because there are other things you love more, and your career allows you to do more of that or to be present for more of that, which is perfectly fine. But there's something very powerful that happens when, regardless of your starting point, you're still able to see the love in the path that you're on, especially in a larger sense. So whether it has to do with leadership, it has to do with your career and what you're giving yourself to on that front, or whether it has to do with an awakening of life purpose, it's like your heart starts to call you that much more strongly. And when you listen, well, so much starts to feel so much more rewarding. Cancer, Mercury and Venus both going direct in a part of the sky for you that has to do with what's happening in the world and your understanding of your connection to the world. Now, that can be a deeply personal or philosophical thing, but it might also be quite literal with travel, immigration, citizenship, or an understanding even of a legal matter or a higher education matter. Planets going direct here means that something within you feels like you are able to move forward as well. Now, where you are to be, what you understand about the world, what is right for you in terms of the details you need, that's going to look a whole lot different in the first days of the week as Mercury goes direct. You'll have an understanding of the where you are to be within yourself or in the world. But at the end of the week, that's about where your heart is, whether that's in the world, again, what you believe philosophically about love. Is the spiritual or political beliefs that you've aligned with, are those a path of love or not? But also, is there love in the endeavor that's in front of you to do? Whether that's a literal place, whether that's a higher education, it is now that you're seeing the potential and the possibility. It doesn't mean you have to madly feel like, yes, this is it. I have a very clear yes, but I will say that for every Cancerian out there, in one way or another, you are going to feel and experience a very clear yes about where your heart is in one way or another, and it changes your understanding of where you are now. Leo, profound change, truth, transformation, regeneration, but also a key financial matter as well. What you think you know as you start the week might end up being very different as you end the week. Well, at the start of the week with Mercury going direct, that's when the logistical stuff feels a whole lot more clearer than it was before. And so if you've got an ongoing financial matter, you have to submit certain documents, at least now you're going to know what's actually required so that it can get done properly. More personally, certain ideas might find you that help you to understand what new pathways you're ready to launch towards. As we end the week though, with Venus, so much of it is about what your truth is, and that includes in intimacy and vulnerability. I do think this is going to be a powerful week for Leos in that regard as well, as this week inspires you and really invites you to get honest with you about where love is in all kinds of ways, but of course, including romantic love as well. There might be a very powerful sense of a karmic pull towards a particular person. Now, you can do something about it or not, but what it means is that there is a lesson there, and that lesson will show itself to you as you navigate this time. Virgo, partnerships of all kinds, whether that is business or whether it is love. I think for most Virgos, this is going to orient around romantic partnerships. Well, understanding where you are in love, how you feel about it, but also how you think about it. That is the key theme of this week. as we start this week and Mercury goes direct, it's like you're finally ready to hear another person, but it's also about feeling as if whatever options present themselves to you, well, there's a lot more clarity around expectations and a sense of vision as to whether or not there's potential here. But at the end of the week, Venus goes direct, and that is very powerful in terms of romantic alliances. And whether that's about clearing up misunderstandings or confusion, or whether that's about, remember, with this Mercury and Venus, breakups that happen tend to not stay broken up. If there was any of that, this is where it feels like a whole lot becomes a lot more clear. You're able to find yourself on the same page, but more importantly, you're able to understand what it is you might want to do next where it comes to a key alliance. Libra, your daily life, whether that has to do with your work environment, the type of work you do, the people there, whether it has to do with your health-related habits, well, Mercury going direct at the start of the week is going to bring clarity. Now, whether that clarity is some misunderstanding with a client, customer, coworker, or perhaps immediate supervisor, whether it's a misunderstanding you didn't realize where it comes to things like the dosage you're supposed to take of a certain medication, it's like you're able to figure things out a whole lot more clearly going forward from here. Now, with Venus going direct at the end of the week, that is a lot about you considering, is there love here in your daily life? And as you move through your life, do you have moments that feel like you are in love with your life in a very literal way? Now, I would also add with this, Venus is the lower benefic, meaning she is a blessing, and where it is that it felt like your work-related or health-related blessings might have been stalled, well, it just might be now that it feels like you're able to move towards them that much more readily. Scorpio, romance, flirtation, what the heart wants, and creative endeavors, the kids in your life as well. Mercury going direct at the start of the week is all about clarity, clearing up confusion where you didn't realize there was confusion. Now you know. And where it comes to, is someone flirting with you? What's really going on? What intentions certain people are bringing to a flirtation or not? Well, you're going to at least see it. Now, this can also be whether it is the creative process or creative endeavor you'd hope to make gains with. Well, they start to show up for you now, whether it's in the sharing or celebrating of what you do. But late in the week, that is when we have Venus going direct. And Venus is the patron of creativity and arts in particular. And if you are in any of those fields, you're about to feel a whole lot of energy that has to do with greater blessings opening up to you. As well, this can be very powerful for feeling like you are finally able to flirt with greater ease. You're able to engage others, and where it is you're hoping for new connections, they can feel like they come together for you, and there could just be one or two options there that hold real long-term potential. Sagittarius, this is the foundation of your chart lit up now. Your home, your past, your living situation, your family of origin. Well, Mercury going direct, if you've been trying to buy, sell, move, attract a new roommate, or if you found out that you kind of had to do that stuff, well, at least now you're going to know what's really going on, how you can move forward, but also what you were thinking might actually be very different than how things actually are. And you can make a choice along those lines. At the end of the week with Venus going direct, this can be a sense of your own heart moving forward from the past. Now, this might also be a sense that a matter related to someone that you love very much in your family, if it felt stalled in any ways, well, you just might get some good news that helps you to feel like everything starts to move in a direction where you know the blessings are there, it's going to be okay. Capricorn, siblings, cousins, neighbors, and your thought processes, how you're thinking about a thing, how you're expressing a thing. If anybody out there with this Mercury retrograde was likely to misunderstand communication, and in particular with these types of people, well, it certainly would be you or would have been you. But as we start this week, Mercury goes direct. And I do think where you didn't even realize there was confusion, in an instant, you know. Where it comes to siblings, cousins, and neighbors, this might also be a time when, if it felt like something in their life was stagnant, whether or not it addressed you or had anything to do with you or not, well, at least it'll feel like it's able to move forward as well. But we end the week with Venus going direct here, and that is an energy of blessings. If you express yourself, you're a writer, you're a teacher, well, that's where it might feel like greater opportunity opens up for you. And this could also be really lovely, encouraging news related to a sibling, cousin, or neighbor in your life now. Aquarius, financial matters, money you earn, money you spend, but self-love and self-esteem are covered by this part of the sky. With Mercury going direct, it can be a powerful time to feel as if you are able to move towards greater prosperity, but also possible if you made certain purchases in the last few weeks, well, you just might see them differently in some way and whether or not they are of value to you now. As we get to the end of the week with Venus going direct, well, this can feel as if financial blessings start to open up for you. This is an energy of some prosperity, but it's also lovely for being able to be connected to a sense of your own self-worth and a boost to healthy self-esteem. And that can change a lot of the decisions that you might make going forward from here. Now, I will add, with Venus going direct in a financial part of the sky, if anybody out there was likely to indulge on beautifying things, whether your space or yourself, it would have possibly been you. And if that was the case, well, this is where you might see those purchases, those stuff that you thought was so fun, that would make you look the way you really want to look. Well, now, are you even interested in those things or not? Well, at least you'll have an answer. Pisces, identity, priorities, who you know yourself to be, all of this might be seen very differently in an instant, where you have a different understanding of self, where it is you thought you were pursuing a path that represented your truth. As we start the week with Mercury going direct, you just might see something, a project or an endeavor near and dear to your heart very differently. It is a game changer, but ultimately it aligns you with goals that are going to be actually meaningful to you. As we get to the end of the week, though, Venus going direct in your sign is a light bulb moment where it comes to an understanding of love. What is lovable about you, what you understand love to be, and what you feel about the love that you have, that you had, and your prospects ahead. With Venus going direct in particular, it might feel as if the pathway towards greater love, whether it's indulging and strengthening the love that you have, or greater love in terms of having enough fun so that you can let love in, well, that whole journey, that whole process, it starts to feel a whole lot clearer, a whole lot easier, as well as you unleash an energy that really can be characterized as pure joy now.